Welcome to the Powerful Marketing Tips Podcast, created for overwhelmed business owners who want to build, run, and organize their marketing for good. And here's a brief overview of our guest. Today we have a valuable episode on the power of content creation with Mark Savant. Mark Savant teaches business owners how to create better content in less time by focusing on the power of digital media to help your brand stay top of mind. With his company, Mark Savant Media, he helps business owners implement systems to create and repurpose anchor content. His YouTube channel has more than 600,000 views. His show, The After Hours Entrepreneur, frequently ranks in the top 1% of podcasts. So if you want to create better content in less time, then this episode is for you. So enjoy.
Mark, welcome to our podcast.
Hey, Mari, how we doing? Glad to be here.
Very good. So you are leading your own company, Mark, every day, I know, but at the same time, you are putting out tons of content. You know, you are in Clubhouse, you are hosting your own podcast. Of course, you lead your team on a daily basis, right? You help companies with content creation. I know you're running some amazing masterclasses, making videos, etc. Please share with us, what is your superpower here?
Oof. Wow. So, I think it's just so important right now that in this time, Q4 2021 and beyond, that we're investing in our digital media presence. You know, everyone's always talking about investing in Bitcoin, investing in your IRA, your 401k, stocks, bonds. What you should really be investing in is yourself and how you brand yourself online. And I put an immense amount of time and energy into that. I help my clients with that. I've got a staff right now of 6 people and then a few freelancers that I bring in occasionally. And that's what we do. We help people create better content in less time and then turn that attention into income. And in my opinion, there's a lot more strategy that goes into this other than just flipping up your phone and then recording an Instagram story now and then. I think it's important that you have some strategy behind it so that you're speaking to the right people at the right time, delivering the right message, so that they can actually become a future client. And if you are branding yourself properly, if you've got the right messaging, it's amazing, amazing, amazing what the power of the internet and the power of social media, it's amazing what they can accomplish for you and your business.
Mm-hmm. Couldn't agree with you more here, but you know, we live in a world of content creation and it may be very overwhelming, right? But before we dive into how to do this, let's talk about why, you know, please share why still this content creation is so important, because like everybody are creating content, you know, the world is overwhelmed.
And it can be, it will be if you don't have the right systems in place. And that's generally one of the reasons why business owners and coaches, entrepreneurs, et cetera, will bring me in to kind of get all the systems in place. But it's incredibly important. You know, nearly every decision-making moment in our life revolves around this thing right here. Boom, the phone, okay? Nearly everything. And I think that a lot of times we discount how relevant it is to every single decision that we make, whether it's conscious or subconsciously. The phone and social media impact nearly every part of our day. And you're seeing this even more so with the younger generations, the millennials, the Gen Zs, even more so. I read a stat the other day that 99% of millennials start their real estate search online. So if you're a realtor and you're not building that presence, you're reaching 1% of millennials. Those billboards you put up, the little mailers that you send out, they don't work. What does work is building know, like, and trust with your target audience. And there's no better way of building know, like, and trust than having a digital presence that reflects your core values, that reflects your vision, that lets people know I'm not going anywhere. I'm here for you. And that's the other thing, Mari, that I think is really important about building up this personal online brand. You can't just disappear. You can't just treat a customer like crap and then disappear into the ether. No, if you treat a customer like crap, they're going to have an opportunity to let your audience know about it. They're going to go to Google. They're going to go to Facebook. They're going to leave negative reviews for you online. And as a business owner, I care more about making sure that my clients and my customers have a great experience, because I want to continue the momentum of building my brand, my personal brand online. And now is a very important time to be doing that. We don't know how long we're going to be able to do it for. It's becoming harder every day.
Yeah, it's all about digital presence, as you said. I agree, but where should I put this content really? You know, there are tons of platforms as well, and which format, and there are so many questions really on the way.
Yeah, well, and that's an important question, because if you try to be everywhere all at once, you're going to end up burning out and you're going to be overwhelmed. And we don't want that. I don't want that. Your wife, your husband, your spouse, they don't want that. Your kids don't want that. Nobody wants that. Okay? And that's why I focus on let's create better content in less time. So to answer your question, my general perspective, again, it depends on your budget and your resources and your time and your team. You can do more. But at minimum, you should have one format where you're creating long-form content. Okay? That might be a place like YouTube. Might be a place like a podcast on iTunes. That's a place where someone can sit down and listen to you, your unique voice, your unique perspective for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour, long form. Okay? And then you should have a place that you're putting short form content that is getting high engagement, right? You can post quick clips or polls or carousel posts, sliders. Someone can get some value from that, leave a comment, and then you have an opportunity to comment back, further cementing that know, like, and trust. So you want one place for long-form content, one place for short-form content. And when we talk about short-form content, we're talking about somewhere like Instagram, maybe that's TikTok, maybe that's LinkedIn, and it really depends on who you want to speak to. So just to go a little bit deeper here, if you're wanting to speak towards a business professional crowd, you need to be on LinkedIn. That needs to be a focus. Okay. If you're speaking to Gen Zs, you really want to be on TikTok. Okay. If you just kind of want to touch everyone, kind of have a general place to be, Instagram is a great place to be at. And again, this is one of the things that I think is really important to think about before you even start posting content. You want to think about who am I? What is my message? Who do I speak to? What's the problem that I solve? What keeps my client or my audience up at night? And the more clarity you have on these topics, the more clear it's going to be where you should be spending your time and where you should be engaging with people.
So it's all about clarity and the target audience, really. Okay.
100%. 100%. It's also important, Mari, that we understand that people use different social media platforms at different times for different reasons, right? So maybe I go on TikTok for 15 minutes or 30 minutes at night when I just want to veg out. I don't want to think about business. I don't want to think about whatever's stressing me out. I just want to release. That's probably not a great place for you to be posting business content right now, because people are trying to release there. They're not trying to double down. Whereas LinkedIn is a better, I think when people are on LinkedIn, they're looking to network. They're looking for potential sales, potential collaboration. So if that is more in line with your business requirements, your business goals, that's somewhere you want to spend time. It really, like you said, clarity. It's really important.
I'm not sure how you see that, but at Powerful Marketers, I see two things usually happening. First, businesses who want to be like everywhere, they are thinking I should be on every platform, I should have all the likes and jumping from one place to another, right? Or there are businesses who decide not to create any content as it's too overwhelming, so they are just focusing on their sales, really. So what are your thoughts here?
Well, you in my perspective, if you're not creating social media content, you're dead. You don't even know it yet, but your business is dead. It's just not going to be able to survive. It's not should I, it's if I don't, when am I going bankrupt? You have to be making content right now. It's not an option. You're just not going to exist. You're not going to exist in the public marketplace. Your voice isn't going to matter. Like we said earlier, more and more people are using the internet. More and more people are using social media to make purchasing decisions. They're making decisions on who they want to be with, where they want to buy. The flip side of that is like you said, if you try to be everywhere all at once, it's completely overwhelming. Now, for me, that's what I focus on. I focus on being everywhere. So we're active just about daily on YouTube, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on TikTok, and we're on LinkedIn, and we're trying out different platforms all the time. But that's because that's what my business is. My business is knowing where you need to be, where the potential audience is, where the potential reach is. That's another problem that you have with social media life cycles, Mari, is that when a social media platform just comes out for the first time, it's like, whoo, massive reach. You can reach so many people. It's so cool. It's so awesome. And then inevitably, after 6 months or a year, people start complaining, people aren't seeing my posts anymore. I'm not getting reach out there. So one of the things that I think is important is that we are testing, or at least surrounding yourself with people like Mari, like myself, that can kind of say, okay, these are the opportunities right now. They might not be here forever, but this is where you should lean into now. And it's I think of social media, Mari, as this amalgamous blob that just consumes everything around it, and it's never full. It just gets bigger and bigger and hungrier. And so it's important that you don't get caught up in feeding this blob all the time without any sort of strategy or any type of goals, any type of vision, because then you never actually know when you hit the finish line. You know what I mean? And you just kind of create aimlessly, which is better than nothing. But when you go into it with a little bit more strategy, with more of a vision and more of a mission, then you can understand, okay, I am meeting my goals. I want to keep doing this. Or you can say to yourself, conversely, I'm not meeting my goals. What do I need to do to switch it up? And it's really important, I think, to have that vision in mind of what does success look like for me? Where am I heading? What's the direction? What is success? Just asking yourself, what does success look like for me? It could be I want to get 1 million downloads. It could be I want to bring in 1,000 people into my lead funnel. It could be I want to connect with powerful people in my industry. Whatever your goal is, know that mission, know that vision, and it'll make it clearer for you if you're actually achieving it. I
agree, Mark, because businesses who decide not to do anything, they are actually losing a lot of things, right? But at the same time, I kind of get them because, creating this engaging content is one thing, but we should also know all about the keyword search. There are so many SEO tricks there. We should, establish a schedule for the content and, those things. And it might be very frightening. So that's very true that those are the things why people need somebody like yourself, right?
Yeah, and I mean, you can spend the time to learn this stuff, and like you said, it's always changing. The hashtag, what are the best hashtags to be using? Okay, is it 28? Is it 10? This stuff is always changing, and it can be exhausting as a business owner because you have to focus on other things, whether it's selling homes or doing taxes, whatever. And that's really what I try to do is try to give these businesses the framework, whether it's through consulting and getting really clear on that vision, getting really clear on a plan, helping them execute the plan either with their own team and building up their own team within their agency or within their business, or if they don't want to deal with all the hassle of HR and content creation and all that, they can hire Mark Savant Media to handle that process as well. Again, it comes down to what resource is more valuable to me. Is it the cash on hand, or is it the time? And then figuring out where best to use your time with the right strategy. The other problem, I think, Mari, is I put out so much free content, an enormous amount of free content that, it's how we got to the 600,000 views on YouTube. We put out a lot of content to get there. The challenge when you're consuming all this content is it isn't in a cohesive A to Z. You're getting bits and pieces. Like in one video, you're getting M. The next video, you're getting C. And so it can be challenging as a business owner, as a content creator. How do I put together an entire cohesive strategy from A to Z? Because there's a lot to it, and there's a lot of order that goes into it. Every person is different. Every business is different. If you just really hate video and you do not want to be videotaped, I would strongly encourage you to take a step back and look at that and reassess, because you should be creating video. But if that's just something you're unwilling to do, that's okay. Let's figure out other ways to create content and really maximize what you're best at and what you want to be spending time doing.
I think that one struggle for many business owners also is that they tell me they have nothing to talk about. What do you think about that?
Then if you have nothing to talk about, you're in the wrong line of work. Because what that says to me is there's nothing that I can say that's going to help my audience. There's nothing I can say that's going to help my client. And if you're in a line of work where you have nothing valuable to provide your clientele, what are you doing? You have something to say. I think really the question, the problem that this person has is they're uncomfortable. They just don't want to. They don't understand it. I've always been doing newspaper ads. Why aren't newspaper ads working anymore? Because nobody's reading the newspaper, right? People are getting their news on Facebook or YouTube. So I think it's a matter of getting outside your comfort zone, but also, it's getting outside your comfort zone and be willing to try new things with the right strategy, and then knowing the right questions to answer. And we could talk a long time about how do I find what type, how do I determine what type of content I should be making? How do I determine what type of questions should I be answering? There's a lot of different ways to do that, but it is important. You need to be answering questions and giving people quick wins.
Mm-hmm. So let's say there are now business owners thinking, okay, I should have one long format content, then I should have this short format out of this first one, right? So, but still, I have those two. What are those things you would tell them right now to start with proper content creation strategy, really? So I have those two pieces. What's next?
Great question. So first off, the most common, I think, hang up for people is I don't have the equipment. Mm-hmm. Right? I don't have the camera. You have a phone. You have everything that you need to get started. Okay. Just hit record and start. Mm-hmm. But assuming that you've dedicated to doing this, you're going to be creating content. I think the most important thing, Mari, where you want to start is determining who you speak to. Mm-hmm. Who do I speak to, and what keeps them up at night? What is a solution that I offer to that person that's going to help them get a good night's rest? And when you can get really clear on who you speak to and the problem that they solve, and clearly articulate how you solve that problem, that's when content starts to take off. Because people are like, holy crap, Mari just had this post and it really helped me solve a problem. I've been posting every day on Instagram. I'm not getting any DMs, but this idea that Mari had with, using a slightly different format, maybe it's a story with a sticker on it, that's getting me engagement. Wow, that's a win. So being really clear on the problem that you solve and who needs that problem solved is key. Before you even shoot a video, you should start to think about that. And this is another problem I think that I hear a lot of times, Mari, with new marketers, new business owners that are on social media, is they use the word like everyone and everybody mm-hmm. and everything and all. These are not good words for marketers. You want to be specific. You want to be specific to who you're speaking to. That's the magic of social media and the internet, right? You have the opportunity to speak to very specific types of demographics and psychographics, right? It's not like the news on cable television where, it just reaches the entirely same audience every week, millions of people. It's very generic. Mm-hmm. The cool thing about social media is you can speak to specific people, solve specific problems with your specific solutions. And that is how you want to show up on social media.
Wow, love it. So equipment, you have it, you have your phone, no problem. You should have clarity, you should know with whom you are talking to, and you should have the strategy, right? Those were the 3 things I took out of this. But Mark, let's say I have 1 hour every week I want to put into content creation. Is it possible to make something happen?
Well, it's possible, right? You're going to need to be clear on what your goals are mm-hmm. because an hour a week for content creation is not a lot. There's an entire life cycle that goes into this, right? So when you start your content creation life cycle, I see 6 steps in the life cycle. So I'm just going to break them down real quickly. Mm-hmm. The first step is clarity. Mm-hmm. Again, I keep talking about clarity. Mm-hmm. Who you speak to, the problem you solve, et cetera, right? Clarity. Then you need to start planning. Based on the insights I've gotten from my clarity session, now I need to put together a plan. Like you said, I've got 1 hour. Where am I going to spend my time? Mm-hmm. So you got to have a plan in place. Then you need to start recording mm-hmm. and editing. Recording and editing, those are 2 separate items, right? But you need to record, then you need to edit and create. Mm-hmm. Then you need to actually post it on social media. That's important. You can do all this work, but if you don't post it, it doesn't matter. Well, and then you've got to engage with people that actually like your content and leave a comment, mm-hmm. right? Because if you've, and this is, it drives me nuts when I see this, Mari. Someone spends all this time and effort creating content, and then someone leaves a thoughtful response, and it's crickets. You have to respond, And from every engagement that you have with people on social, it goes right back around to the top of the life cycle to clarity. Mm. Because now that you've created the content, you get an idea of what people want, and you've engaged with them, and you've answered more questions. Now you go right back to the start, because now you have more clarity on who you're speaking to and the problem that you can solve, the offerings that you have to solve those problems, right? So it's this life cycle. And I think at the end of the day, 1 hour to go through that whole life cycle a week, it's not a lot of time, okay? And it can be done, but I'll just give you an example. One of the offerings that I have is I'll sit down with a client once a month for 2 hours, and we'll record all their content for the month. That's it. You sit down for 2 hours a month and you record everything. And then me and my team on the back end, we edit it, we repurpose it, we post it, we put it all out there so that you as a business owner, all you need to do is communicate with the people in your DMs, in your hot leads section, etc. So long story short, which I want to keep things concise here, you can do it in 30 minutes, but if you're not trading your time, you're going to be trading money. You're going to need to pay someone to help with the content creation lifecycle.
Yeah, but still it's possible. So it's
For sure.
Very good. That's what I wanted to have from here. Thank you, Mark. And I love the lifecycle, by the way. I'm going to use it, if I may.
Thank you. It makes it, and again, you have to keep coming back to clarity. You know, and this is another problem I think people have when they're first starting off is you like, people get this perfection paralysis, right? Where they go through this clarity exercise of determining who they speak to, the problem they solve, and they think like, I have to get it right the first time. Everything needs to be perfect, but it's not going to be perfect. You know, if you've been in an industry for a decade or 20 years, you're probably going to have a pretty good idea of the problems that your client has, that your audience has. But what's really important is that you just start putting it out there, and then you keep assessing, keep coming back to clarity. Like if you post a poll and it's crickets, no one posts anything. Okay, let's steer away from that. And then next week you post a poll that 1,000 people respond to. Okay, this means something. Let's double down on this problem, right? And you got to keep coming back to clarity.
Wow, I love it. Start with clarity.
Yep. For sure. My team hates it when I say this, but I think of content creation as a sandwich, and always the bread is clarity. You always start with clarity, and you put all your fillings in, then you always end with clarity.
Sandwich.
Right? No matter who you are. Yeah. All this stuff in the middle can be intermingled, right? You like peanut butter jelly, you like ham, you know, whatever you like, it's cool. But you have to start and end with clarity. That's without the top and bottom of your sandwich, it's going to be a mess. Stuff's going to be falling everywhere.
I love it. Content creation is like a sandwich. Very good. So before we're going to wrap up with a very inspirational and powerful song and a quote. So if there are people right now thinking they would love to hear more about what you do, how should people get in touch with you? You know, what's the best way to do that?
So you can find Mark Savant Media on basically every platform. Mark Savant Media, you can listen to my show, The After Hours Entrepreneur, on your favorite podcast player. So I would say that, you know, find me on social media, hit me up, tell me you heard me on Mari's show, Powerful Marketers. I'd love to see how I could help you grow your social media profile, make better content in less time, and turn that attention into income. That's what I want to do for you.
Love it. So thank you, Mark. And now it's time for sharing this powerful and inspirational song and a quote. So tell me, what are your thoughts here? What are the song or a quote or both that will always inspire you, you know, to take some action or to put some creative content out there?
Oof, wow, and this is a tough question. Honestly, I consume so much spoken media. Podcasts is what I consume a lot of. For music, I would say I listen to a lot of different type of music. I love, like we were talking about a little bit, 90s hip hop, rock and roll. Right now, I'd say something that really inspires me, gets me fired up. I like to listen to this before I get into runs. I like to listen to some Metallica. Enter the Sandman. It just gets me like, I love the build up, which reminds me of marketing in a way too, where you've got this long build up, and to me that's a lot of like what marketing is. I'm working with another client who says, hey Mark, you know, this is what my end goal is, and we're building out this podcast to eventually get him to the end goal, but you know, you can't just start like with the intense guitars and the music and just you got to kind of work into it, right? Your first touch with someone should be buy my thing. It should be, here's the problem that you have, here's my solution for it, let me solve it for you. And the more problems that you solve for someone, the more likely they are to keep coming back. So anyway, Enter the Sandman by Metallica.
Wow, I love it. I love the comparison it just brought. Really, that's very good. That's very good.
You know, I think that's important. It also doesn't hurt that it's like really fast paced and gets those legs moving. And then for a quote, I don't know actually who said this, but I think about it a lot. And it's the quote of, if you stand for nothing, you fall for everything. If you stand for nothing, you fall for everything. And I think this is really important, just from a personal standpoint, as a father of two, as a husband. I think it's important that we have principles in place, and we say, this is the line. Don't cross this line, on our personal lives. But I also think it's important in the marketing world where you can be super targeted and super segmented to a particular audience. And I'm not saying that you have to make a political stance of this is who I vote for and this is how I view mandates. You don't need to necessarily do that. But if you take a hard stand on something, some people aren't going to be for it. They're not going to be with it. But some people are going to be drawn to it. They're going to be like, wow, that is me. That speaks to me. So in the world where you can really powerfully segment all of your messages to a specific demographic, a specific psychographic, I think if you stand for nothing, you fall for everything. You're not for everybody. You need to be super clear on who you speak to, what the problem they have is, and how you can solve it, and then developing a lot of messaging around solving that problem.
That's deep. I love it.
I try.
So thank you so much, Mark. I truly appreciate your time here, and I know that many business owners who are listening us also appreciates you. So thank you for taking this time for us today.
Absolute pleasure. And you know what? I want to give everyone a little bit of homework. I know you hate homework. I know you've graduated. You don't want to do homework anymore. But my homework to everyone out there would be start making short form vertical video. Like you see in Instagram stories, like you see on TikTok. They're just, you're getting a ton of reach. All the social media platforms are fighting and arguing and going against everyone. It's a war for vertical short form video. So start thinking about how you can make vertical short form video, and you will be really excited with the organic reach that you can get from vertical short form videos. That's my homework. Go make some short form videos.
I love this homework. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, and I'm sorry.
That's okay. Thank you.
That's all we've got for this episode of the Powerful Marketing Tips Podcast. Make sure to link up with us at our free monthly international mastermind event. Just go to powerful-marketers.com/mastermind for registration. And one thing that would really help us and other new potential listeners is if you would rate this show and leave a comment wherever you tune in to listen. Until next time, take care.